All right, let's look at the statement then that the ANC's NEC has issued post that meeting. Unpack it further. We're joined by Professor Dr. Somadoda Fikeni, rather. He is a political analyst. Dr. Fikeni, good evening and thank you so much for your time. The ANC, of course, today drawing some laughter from members of society, especially when you see the responses and the reaction on social media, particularly from a line under the headline corruption in their statement, where they say they are outraged and deeply embarrassed by some of the allegations that some of their leaders have been facing.
Indeed, there is a credibility and legitimacy crisis on many statements that the ANC and the government has issued on the issue of corruption. It is for this reason that the public might actually have been outraged and they might actually find the statement incredible, in a sense. The real problem with the ANC here is that there are many instances when they have made such promises. They have diagnosed the problem quite correctly in their conferences, but they lack the political will to act decisively. And one of the reasons being the fact that they have factionalized these interventions, and therefore the interventions are seen as political witch hunt, with questions asking who will cast the first stone, when many other members who are prominent might actually also be implicated.
Dr. Fikeni, in the statement under the issue of corruption, one of the things they also do is that they quote the resolutions of the ANC's 54th conference, and in particular, what should happen to members of the party that are accused of or find themselves embroiled in scandal. And the suggestion there being, if one is being investigated or their name is being caught up in controversy, then they should step aside until those matters are concluded. Now, we look at what has happened recently when it comes to the reinstating of officials that were implicated in VBS, and those have been reinstated. It doesn't make sense. One wonders how a statement like this can be put together, but the actions of the ANC, quite frankly, are quite far removed from what they're saying in the statement.
That's precisely the source of the credibility crisis here, because of these inconsistencies and contradictions, where they may make a pronouncement in one form but go on to do other things. And now the believability has become the biggest crisis for the ANC, because any statement they make might be seen as a PR exercise in face of the public outrage on the looting of the public funds during this crisis period. It will only be actions when they start taking the situation seriously that people will start appreciating. But for now, the contradictions like the VBS situation do not actually cover the organization in glory at all.
One of the things that also seemed to be on the agenda was the National Taxi Indaba, which is currently being planned for under Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula. Speak to me about, the connection between the ANC and the taxi industry and the kind of interests that are at play there.
The first one is just an admission of failure that this is an industry that makes the commuters of the country who are behind our economy in millions to move from point A to point B. And government has failed over the years to formalize this sector or even subsidize this sector, which made it almost impossible to talk of a reliable, safe public transport system. The Ria Vias and many other metro initiatives have not been able to carry the masses on a massive scale as the taxi industry does. And it is for that reason that taxi industry knows they are having a very big influence on economic recovery, on the movement of the workers and the commuters on daily basis, of scholars going to their schools. And for that simple reason, the taxi industry is using this moment of vulnerability to say it's going to force government to do something about formalizing and subsidizing this sector.
And so do you likely see that there will be a push even from within the party for the taxi industry to be better supported?
Certainly there will be some of the people who will push for that for a simple reason that if you wanted to transform and to empower black businesses, taxi industry is one of the immediate candidates for that, because it has been in the hands of many blacks for so many years. So if you wanted to upscale, if you wanted to give them muscle, that's where you start, where they've already been operating. Of course, there may be some trade-offs here, because you must also address some behavioral tendencies of some of the taxi industry, sectors, which may not be very helpful to the public. So government ought to address these issues. ANC constituencies will understand that one very well.
One of the things that we also see is, of course, marking the passing of Ndade Andrew Mlangeni, and a lot of reflections, a lot of talk about how the ANC needs to renew, the ANC needs to, put the people of South Africa first. We've heard it all before. To what end is all of this talk?
It will end in nothing unless there is political courage, unless the senior leaders are prepared to confront each other, and unless they exercise the ghost of corruption and patronage as well as factionalism. Because right now, most of the arguments, engagements, are often seen in the lenses of, factionalism. You do this to that one, you do this to that one. As Batablet Lamini once said, each one of us has smaller nyana skeleton. And unfortunately, we have seen these skeletons grow faster into a Jurassic Park size. That is the main problem that confronts them. Action will be what will regain any credibility on their part, not statements, not words, not promises, or even conference resolutions.
All right.